Today we'll be talking about Ice Boy Chang-who. No, not that one. This one. Debuting the upcoming Lost Chapter update. And if you don't want to miss future PGR guides and videos, don't forget to subscribe. And if I make any corrections or forget to mention something, it'll be in the pinned comment down below. Okay, let's get into it. I also want to quickly add that in this video, my Chang-who has a 4-star weapon and is under leveled because, so this is not a proper showcase of Chang-who's damage. Changyu Qilin is a base A-rank tank structure that deals primarily ice damage by rapidly pummeling enemies with his fists and his feet. In this video, I'll cover his skills, passives, playstyle, weapons, builds, team synergies, and my pulled and build recommendations. And as usual, there's timestamps if you want to jump to a specific topic. Going through his kit, his basic attack string is a flurry of punches and kicks, dealing ice and physical damage in melee range, ending in a ground stomp. His QTE is an AoE ground slam, dealing 5 instances of ice damage and slowing enemies hit. Going over his orbs, performing a 3 orb or matrix red does 2 physical strikes and ends with a ground slam dealing ice damage, reducing the enemy's attack speed. Single or double red orb pings just do the 2 physical punches. His blue orb drops an ice field, dealing a bit of physical damage, and this does ice damage instead if it's a 3 orb or matrix ping, and enemies in the AoE are slowed and have reduced ice resistance. His yellow orb deadass kicks an enemy, dealing physical damage, and this deals ice damage instead if it's a 3 orb or matrix ping. His core passive is the Grey Orb at position 1 here, and basically after using a 3 orb or matrix ping, you can activate the Grey Orb for a follow-up attack depending on the orb color. The blue orb follow-up attack adds slowing icicles dealing ice damage and redeploys the ice debuff field. The red orb follow-up attack adds a backflip kick, dealing ice damage and shortens his basic attack string afterwards. And the yellow orb follow-up attack pulls in enemies dealing ice damage, and this is also the swap-in attack. His ultimate is indicated by the energy meter or the gauge at the bottom of the screen. Chang-who can go into his ultimate form at 50% energy, consuming all of his orbs into the gauge. His defense and ice damage is increased, and he is only able to spam basic attacks and the Great Orb. You can hit the Great Orb for an ice blast, and after basic attacking, the Great Orb instead deals rapid punches, dealing ice damage that cannot be interrupted, but it does keep him in place. You can cancel his ultimate anytime to revert back to the normal form with 4 orbs. And as for Chang-who's leader passive, he gives 15% defense for the entire team. And as for his Ascensions, at S rank he can upgrade his tank class skill to lower the target's extra damage reduction. At double S he gets increase in ice damage and defense during his ultimate form. At triple S he gains increased ice shred and ice damage on blue orb. And at triple S plus, the core passive Great Orb decreases ice resistance and gives an ice damage self buff. And S rank is enough for most people unless you're a DPS Chang-who simp. And as for his builds, his 5-star memories can be 4-piece Ike and 2-piece Ive. And Chang-who has 2 primary 6-star memory builds, depending on the playstyle. The meta and recommended one is the QTE Bot build with 4-piece Da Vinci and 2-piece Einstein, and this frees off Einstein off Plume so she can run a higher damage build with 2-piece Darwin. And Chang-who is not really a good Zhu and Yen holder due to him not having a great reliable multi-hit with his QTE unless it's in a group of enemies. Although, if you opt for the unoptimal on-field DPS build, this isn't an issue and 4-piece Zhu and Yen is the best set in this case. Although I wouldn't recommend resonating it unless you really like Chang-who. And as for Chang-who's playstyle, the recommended and meta way to use Chang-who is as a QTE bot, so he's the 4-piece Da Vinci slave and basically never sees field time outside of QTE for Plume. But if you don't care about the meta and just want to channel your inner JoJo for DPS on-field Chang-who, you can try to get to his ultimate as quickly as possible, and then when doing his rapid punch attack, do be aware of your surroundings since you do stay still, so dodge when you can, and note that he also does more ice damage inside of Matrix. And as for team comps, for the QTE Bot team, you can set Plume as the leader on blue, 4-piece Da Vinci Chang-who on red, and Lotus or Isla on yellow holding the 4-piece Zhu and Yen. Just don't set Plume as the starter. For the Chang-who DPS team with 4-piece Zhu and Yen, you can put Chang-who on the red slot, Aker and Blast for the grouping with Gloria and Lantern on the yellow slot, and a 4-piece Da Vinci holder like A-Liv on the blue slot. And if you're using A-Liv, you can set her as the healer and starter here. Just note that despite his flashy moves, Chang-who doesn't do much damage compared to Plume. As for his weapons, for the QTE Bot build, it's honestly not even worth giving him a 5-star weapon, and a 4-star weapon is enough to proc the Einstein. For the off-meta DPS builds, then 5-star weapon is probably needed, and a 6-star weapon is pretty nice, giving him some ice shred on his QTE, but it's really hard to recommend for a character that's going to be phased out eventually, so unless you really like him, I don't recommend it. And as for my pull and build recommendations, as a DPS and sub-DPS, Chang-who doesn't do enough damage meta-wise due to his base A rank and split damage compared to Plume. He also has potentially dangerous parts of his kit, like being locked into animation punching. And as a support, the problem is that his QTE has a short duration and little to no multi-hit, and unless there's multiple enemies, Compared to Isla and Lotus, Changyu is less suitable to reliably proc the 4-piece Zhu and Yen Ice Shred. So that leaves him as the 4-piece Da Vinci holder with 2 Einstein. But it's not a big upgrade outside of freeing Einstein off Plume. He gains notable Ice Resist Shred at SSS, and he needs a signature weapon for his QTE to trigger the Ice Shred, but the reality is that S-Chrome later on will replace him, so it's a wasted investment. So yeah, TLDR, you can choose to pull him with spare R&D tickets just to have him, but he's not necessary to pull with black cards and build meta-wise. Unless you want a slight upgrade in damage or a head start converting Einstein to Darwin for Plume with Changyu's QTE Bot build. But I also want to remind everyone that at the end of the day, this is just a video game, so if you don't care about the meta and you like to pummel enemies with his punches, don't let this video stop you, and we shouldn't really slander people for playing how they want. I'm just speaking from a meta recommendation perspective. Yeah, that about does it. If there's any updates or corrections, I'll leave in a pinned comment down below. If you have any questions, drop in the comments or join the Discord at discord.io/Automata. I'll try to respond if I'm not busy. Subscribe so you don't miss future guides or videos, and if you found this video informative, drop a like, a dislike if you didn't. There's also some guild slots open, so join us at Automata on the North America server. And yeah, thanks for watching, and peace late.